How sweet it is for the Michigan State Spartans at JC Sports. Welcome to JC Sports. We're doing a live after the game, not live, but doing a YouTube video. Obviously, the Michigan State Spartans come away with a win today. It was the most interesting game from a couple of points. They looked kind of not the same Michigan State team in the first half. First half, they looked very lackadaisical. They couldn't make a shot, and like Tom Izzo said, they didn't play defense. And in the second half, they really turned it on. They outscored the Lobos 42-32 in the second half. And that just goes to show you that's how they won this game. But all in all, you got to look at it like this. Their bench, Michigan State's bench, 14 points from Trey Hallman. He had 4 assists, which led to the Michigan State Spartans in assists. He had the second most points on the team next to Jaden Akins. Carson Cooper, who comes off the bench too. He had 8 rebounds total. He had 2 offensive rebounds and 6 defensive rebounds. You had Cohen Carr, who had 8 points. He had 6 rebounds as well. So right there, you got you're getting a lot of rebounds from your bench. And then you look at just the starting 5 that you started with. Jackson Kohler had 4 points. Zapala had 4 points. Jace Richardson had 6 points. Fears had 5 points. Akins had 16 points. But in what world did you think, as a Michigan State fan, that you would win a game like this in the NCAA tournament with your starting 5, only one going over double digits? I don't think you can ever say. I think it's been a while since you could say, yeah, I expected to win that game, because what Michigan State did is they beat the Bryant Bulldogs, which was a great game. They really did a great job against the Bryant Bulldogs. And then they beat the New Mexico Lobos 71-63. So look, what I will say about this is Michigan State came to play when it mattered. And their bench, they're deep. They are very, very deep, and they can play with anybody. And if they keep playing like this, next they're going to have the Ole Miss Rebels. Chris Beard coaches Ole Miss Rebels. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. But we're potentially aligning for an Elite 8 matchup with Michigan State and Michigan, which would be crazy. But I don't think there's a team right now that could really stop this Michigan State team. Think about it from this perspective. They played in probably a C- game in the first half. First half, C- game was terrible. Was terrible. They play in the second half. They play a lot better. It still wasn't up to the snuff. Their starters didn't play good at all. Jace Richardson. I look at him. He was 1 for 10 from the field. He was 4 for 4 from the free throw line. He had 4 points. He had 4 points alone at the free throw line. 1 make in the field goal range. Where have you ever thought that would happen? Jeremy Fear is only scoring 5 points. Zapala only scoring 4 points. Kohler only scoring 4 points. I mean, for God's sakes, Jackson Kohler only had 2 rebounds the whole game. It kind of shows you 2 things. I think there's a couple things that come out real quick. When you look at Michigan State, they're deep, they're physical, and man, oh man, is that bench scary. I think when Tom Izzo brings Cohen Carr to the game, I think the other coach got to be like, you got to be effing kidding me. This kid could start on some teams. You bring in Carson Cooper, who comes in. He's a useful player. He had 8 rebounds today. That guy could start on some teams. Frankie Fiddler, he played at I think he played at Omaha last year. Omaha played St. John's, and he comes in here tonight, 10 points. He was pretty solid. And Frankie Fiddler is another guy who can help you out. And then you can't forget about Trey Hallman. There's just this team is so deep that it's going to be hard for other teams to really account for their deepness, because when the starters get tired, the starting 5 get tired. Here comes Cohen Carr. Here comes Trey Holloman. Here comes Carson Cooper. Here comes Frankie Fiddler. Like, it doesn't get any easier for these teams that are playing Michigan State. And that's a credit to Tom Izzo, but also it's a credit to the team, because, I mean, a guy like Cohen Carr, he's getting better. I thought that game against Bryant was fantastic, and the way that he played in that game, he really dominated from that standpoint. And if you can get what you got tonight, where Holloman and Carr and Fiddler are just producing at a high rate, and your starting five doesn't produce, they didn't produce like they did tonight, but they start producing like they did against um, Bryant, you're gonna blow out teams. This is a very talented team that Michigan State has, and this is probably one of the most talented teams that Izzo has ever had. I mean, let's be honest. The 2020 team where Cassius Winston was the point guard, that was a team that you thought could make a run in the NCAA tournament. Unfortunately, for Michigan State, they weren't able to see that because Cassius Winston and that whole team and the whole world shut down. COVID happened, and I felt like that was the best shot that Izzo had in a long time, and I feel better now because I think this is a guy, uh, he has a great shot right now. You know, the bracket, I look at Auburn, who's on the number 1 seed. I don't think they're some tough team by any stretch of the imagination. Um, so it's gonna be interesting the way this plays out, and they got Ole Miss next. It'll be interesting to see what happens against Ole Miss, but this is a fantastic team here, and if they could just if they could all catch fire at the same time in one game, maybe it's not meant for the New Mexico Lobos. Maybe it's not meant for a team like the Ole Miss Rebels. But if you play Ole Miss or Michigan in Elite Eight and you finally catch fire, everyone on your lineup catches fire, there ain't no one that's beating you. There's no one that is beating Michigan State if everyone catches fire at the same time. There's so much talent on the roster. Cohen Carr could take over a game. Trey Holloman could take over a game. Jaden Akins could take over a game. Jeremy Fears could take over a game. Jace Richardson could take over a game. There's a lot of stars on this team that are not well known, but I think they're going to be well known after it. And I think a kid like Jace Richardson, if he stayed, he would be one of the best players next year for sure. But it'll be interesting to see what happens moving forward with this Michigan State team, especially since they're going to be playing the Ole Miss Rebels. And look, this is a good shot for Michigan State to actually, make the Final Four and have a good chance to win a national championship, in my opinion. They have a really talented team. This is a tough team to play against, and man, is there some studs on this team. So we'll see what happens against Ole Miss next week. We'll have a preview, breaking down that game in the next video. But thank you for watching. Michigan State wins 71-63 over the New Mexico Lobos. And we'll see you in the next video as we talk more Michigan State Spartans here on JC Sports.